Can you get that from just like sniffing them? Wouldn't you have to like eat them? I guess I don't know.
I have no idea about drugs, Helene. This is Growing Up Millennial, a podcast about all that media we loved in the 90s and the early aughts. I am Adri, a geriatric millennial who grew up in a tropical island and now lives in what I affectionately call the Devil's Butthole, Texas.
I'm Helene, a quintessential millennial who just loves media so damn much that I made a career out of it. And I did not grow up in or currently live in a tropical island, so Adri has that on me.
Nor the Devil's Butthole.
No, quite the opposite, actually.
What is the opposite of the Devil's Butthole?
Minnesota. I don't know, the angel's vagina. I don't. Is this how we're starting the new podcast?
I guess that's how we're starting it, guys. Hi, welcome. If you've never heard from us, sorry.
Starting off strong.
If you've joined us from a tiny little podcast we like to call Archaeopolitics that is now over, hello, welcome back. It's your co-hosts again.
We're here.
Oh, and we're not stopping. Anyway, this season of Growing Up Millennial, we are seeing double because it's all about the legends, the icons who started their career off as Baby Michelle in Full House, the Olsen twins.
Also known as Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen.
Also known as the designers behind the iconic fashion brand, The Row, which is, out of my price range, but I like to look anyway.
Oh, I've never looked, so maybe I should go check it out. But the sisters are actually more recently known as Elizabeth Olsen's oldest sisters because, Scarlet Witch, WandaVision, all that fun stuff.
Wow. Could you imagine to like pave a way and then be like, oh yeah, now you're a celebrity too. Great. Fantastic.
I'm sure they're very happy for her.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I hope. Anyway, this episode is all about Passport to Paris, which was released on November 9th, 1999, and was directed by Alan Metter, who also directed Billboard Dad.
Yes, and Mary-Kate and Ashley actually served as the film's executive producers on this film, and it is the first of 7 direct-to-video films produced by Tapestry Films that star the Olsen twins.
Yes, it is. Indeed, it is. So, could you read us the summary that I so blatantly copied and pasted from Amazon.com?
Oh, I actually wrote my own summary because I was doing Archaeopolitics style.
Ooh, but let's start with like what the back of the box would say.
Okay.
And then we can go on to yours.
Okay. So, from Amazon. Sorry, 1 second. I'm getting Facebook message notifications and I need to turn this shit off. From Amazon, when Mary-Kate and Ashley visit France, they pack their bags for fun and plot a rendezvous with adventure. Sent to Paris to visit their grandfather, the girls fall in love with France and fall head over heels for 2 French boys. Sightseeing on mopeds, they race around Paris on a mission to see the city, make new friends, and stay one step ahead of their uptight chaperone. From shopping at French boutiques to exploring Notre Dame and dinner dates with the Eiffel Tower, it's one hilarious exploit after another. Mademoiselles, Mary-Kate and Ashley offer a passport to adventure in a très magnifique journey.
Perfect. No notes.
Except for my French. My French is awful, but yes, no notes.
Yeah, okay. Give me your summary. Now I can't wait.
All right, so Melanie and Allison Porter are the coolest girls in 7th grade. Even though they get straight A's in school, their parents worry that their world is too small. Not everything can be about call waiting and going to the mall, of course. In hopes of widening their daughter's worldviews a bit, Mom and Dad surprise the girls with a trip to Paris during their spring break. But that's when Shane and Kyle, the two cutest boys in school, want to take them to the spring fling. The girls suck it up, and they take the free trip to visit their grandfather, who also happens to be the ambassador to France. Along the way, they torture their handler slash babysitter, Jeremy, become friends with a French supermodel named Brigitte, and meet two Parisian cuties, Jean and Michel. After a magical week in Paris, the girls win over their grumpy grandpa by helping him with some French foreign policy changes. Yep, that happens. And he lets them go to a dance where Jean and Michel's band are playing. The girls say goodbye to their new French hotties and return home only to blow off Shane and Kyle for bigger and better things.
I lost it at French hotties.
Heck yeah. I have to tell you, I completely forgot that there was the whole impacting French foreign policy thing at the end.
That the most important of plot?
Yes. I completely lost it. Anyway.
Anyway, before we get onto our very deep thoughts about this cinematic masterpiece, it's time for a segment we're calling the 411, where we're going to be talking about, some little details that we have found by, usually just going to google.com and asking it questions, It's not very scientific, our approach, but it is our approach. One of my favorite 411 tidbits, Helene, is that Mary-Kate and Ashley got to pick their love interests from audition tapes.
I mean, like I said, they were executive producers on this film. They had a lot of control, it seems, over the film. So that actually doesn't surprise me too much, but I'm very happy that they got to do that.
I mean, women in business, honestly.
Right. They were in charge of their own career.
Suits, they're just watching audition tapes.
Right. Well, I found out that the Olsen twins actually had their very first ever on-screen kiss in this movie.
Yeah. I kind of saw that one little tidbit, but also, not speaking of kisses, I don't know how to pivot out of this. You mentioned earlier that it was produced by Tapestry Films. It was like a Dualstar Entertainment Tapestry film, classic team up. But Tapestry Films, this is not something I didn't know. Perhaps other people are more worldly than I am. They've gone to Paris, of course, what was also the production company that behind certain movies that I have enjoyed, starting with Wedding Crashers from 2005.
Okay.
She's All That, 1999.
Yeah.
Serendipity, 2001. And The Wedding Planner, also 2001. So let's just say that Passport to Paris paved the way for these masterpieces.
Well, yeah, not only those amazing pieces, but all 7 of Mary-Kate and Ashley's direct-to-video films were Tapestry.
Of course. So. I mean, yes. It was the classic Tapestry Dualstar Entertainment team-up that I was talking about earlier.
Exactly.
But I just wanted, to kind of dig deeper into what was this partner and what have they done with their lives after. And look at that. They've done a lot.
Right. Well, the tidbit that I found that I thought was really interesting and honestly made a lot of sense after I watched the movie again was while there was some filming in Paris, which I'm sure we'll touch on later with actual filming locations, while they did do some filming in Paris, only a small portion of the filming actually happened in Paris, and the parts that did were mostly done without permits.
Oh, I could totally see that as a grown-up rewatching this.
Right, which totally explains one specific scene that I just lost my mind in.
We will talk about this scene later. It is literally the scene that always makes me lose my goddamn mind.
It's amazing. Yep. So
it is a work of art, no pun intended.
Oh, that was a good one. If you're in on the joke, you're gonna be like, "Damn, Adri, that was good."
I have my moments. All right, so another tidbit that I personally find very endearing. Ethan Peck, who is now playing Spock on Star Trek Discovery, played Michelle, one of the love interests.
You know who else he played?
Okay, 1 second.
Oh, okay, go on.
Let me get this right out, and then you can talk to me about other things he played. Okay.
Okay.
He is also the grandson of Gregory Peck, one of the most popular film stars from the 1940s to the 1970s. In the year this was released, as in 1999, the American Film Institute named not Ethan Peck, Gregory Peck, the 12th greatest male star of classic Hollywood cinema.
Okay. So I don't know if I know Gregory Peck. Has he been in anything that I would have watched, do you think? Probably.
Probably. I mean, if not, then we got to get you back to Turner Classic Movies and get you
Yeah,
started.
I'm not a big black and white films were always like, as a kid, I never wanted to watch them. So if it is black and white, I probably haven't seen it.
Yes, it probably is.
But as well as playing a young Spock, like you mentioned, on Star Trek Discovery and also Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Ethan Peck also played young Kelso on That 70s Show. He played a young Ashton Kutcher.
God bless. God bless.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes. Speaking of filming locations, did you know that the mansion, the quote French mansion, was actually a high school?
The one that their grandfather lives in?
Yes.
Man, I mean, like I said, I that was one thing that I knew must not have been filmed in Paris. Like they did not film that in Paris. That did not happen.
The Alverno High School in Sierra Madre, California.
That's very funny. I like that a lot.
Yeah. That I was like, oh yeah, this makes so much more sense. Okay, let's be real. Like first time I watched this, of course, I was like, clearly this is all in Paris, Paris. Wow.
Right? Of course. Duh.
French.
Yeah. And then obviously now having worked in the entertainment industry for a few years, I watch this and I'm like, yeah, they did not. They cut corners as much as they possibly could with this movie.
Yeah. I mean. There's a couple of things I can easily point out about this. Like there's that, and we'll go a little bit more into this later, but I don't want to like tease the listeners too much. But like that moment where they're supposedly shopping, but not one of them goes into the store with the camera. They always just come out with a bag.
I noticed that and I was like, this is so strange. I need to know the thought process behind this. Like, no one would let you. Well, yeah, but like no one in their, like, it's so unrealistic. No one in their right mind would let you take your stuff out of the store just to show the people on the street and not in the store.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, we'll get to that later, I'm sure. But that was hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to point it out before like people just were like, now listeners,
it's a perfect example.
Off the podcast right now, at least you got one tidbit of information.
Right. It was the perfect example of definitely like not having permits or wanting to pay for the production of the film.
I mean, there's a far more important example, but we're not there yet.
No, not yet.
So let's keep them on the hook. Yeah.
Okay. So I had a couple of really interesting facts about. Well, first of all, neither of the actors who portrayed Sean and Michelle, Sean being Brocker Way and Michelle being Ethan Peck, as we already talked about.
Not Sean.
Jean? I think it's just Jean.
Jean. Yeah, I kept.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, it's like. Oh, sorry, no, Jean. I don't know how. My French is really bad, like I said. But neither of those people, neither of those boys were French. They're both from California.
Oh, so what you're saying is that you are Allie in this scenario, where you're like, my French is very terrible.
Oh no, Allie actually knew. Melanie knew no French at all. Melanie knew no French at all. Allie knew French. It was just bad.
I would, girl, if I were one of these love interests, I would not pass the test there at the end.
No,
could not tell them apart.
That's fair. That's fair. And we'll get into it when they get into fashion stuff. But they actually did really interesting like stuff to make it so that you could tell them apart with their fashion alone.
Oh yeah, so, for sure. Okay, I mean, does it have to do with pink and blue?
Yeah, at some points, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the only other thing that I had was that Brocker Way, who plays Jean, is the nephew of actor Kurt Russell.
Oh wow! Look at that.
Yeah, I thought that was
Nepotism is what we're
right.
learning today. This is Nepotism 101.
Mm-hmm. Nepo
Surprised,
baby.
yeah, Nepo babies, all of them. I'm surprised Emma Roberts wasn't in this as a cameo or something. Um, so the writers for this movie were Elizabeth Kruger and Craig Shapiro, who are actually a married team of writers, and they took over as showrunners for the Charmed reboot on season 2, much to the dismay of some diehard fans.
Oh, I couldn't even get through season 1 of the Charmed reboot, and I'm a huge Charmed fan.
Maybe give season 2 a try. Maybe it has
Maybe
some
it'll
of
get
that
better.
Passport to Paris.
Yeah, I mean, because the writing in this movie is just it's a good selling point for sure.
It is the selling point. I don't know what you're talking about, Helene.
You know who else? This has nothing to do with this movie, but there's another married team of writers that I love a lot.
No, we are not going to talk about Gilmore Girls in this fucking show right now. No.
Amy and Daniel Sherman Palladino. Come on,
no, they have to earn entrance into this fine show.
I mean, come on. When you say married team of writers, that's not the first thing that pops into your mind, really.
No, okay, married team of writers, me and my husband.
Done. Oh, you wrote. What TV show did you guys write? What TV show was that?
We are working on Olivia Penelope Wilson right now. Okay, so calm down.
Okay, all right.
So when I say married team of writers or hear that phrase, the first people I think about is us, not anyone else, because I'm self-centered.
Yeah. Okay. Checks out.
Not even one fucking episode in, and you're already making this about Gilmore Girls. No, we cannot get.
I mean,
this is slander, and I will not get behind it. Let's keep on going.
What do you have against Gilmore Girls? Goodness, maybe we have to work through this anger.
I have nothing against Gilmore Girls. This is not a Gilmore Girls season. We're talking about the Olsen twins. Let's focus.
Okay. All right. Fine. Let's dish. Are you ready to dish?
Yes, let's dish. Okay. I have so many fucking notes about this movie.
You do. You have way more notes than I do. That's true.
Okay, so I have about 3 bullet points that are solely about the fucking font in this movie.
The font is what, like Comic Sans?
Comic Sans, and I don't think I can take it, Helene. Honestly, I'm like, why? Why would you do this to me? Why would you do this to us, to a generation?
Honestly, the opening is of this film is the most 90s thing I think I've ever seen in my life. It was obviously made on Premiere or whatever the very, very first video editing software was. iMovie. It was iMovie.
QuickTime.
Yeah. It was a very basic, throw some stuff about Paris on the background and just move it around and then put people's names on top of it for the credits. It was amazing. And also awful, horrible.
There's also quite a long shot of a nail polish Lazy Susan inside a locker.
Yes, and then she closes her locker, but she definitely doesn't close it all the way.
Correct. That seemed a little weird. I just wanted to comment on this.
Yeah, what 13-year-old
Who needs that much nail polish in 7th grade?
Yeah, what 13-year-old needs that many lipsticks? Especially in her locker. It was 30 lipsticks on that Lazy Susan.
Oh, I thought it was nail polish.
Oh, was it? I thought it was it could have been both. Who knows?
Who knows? Who knows? Probably people who are going to go watch the movie and pause.
Yeah, well, you know what? You know what? Who cares? Anyway.
Okay, anyway. Other thoughts I had. Do you have more thoughts about the opening up until that point?
Not up until that point, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, because I have way more.
Okay.
So Shane and what's his face?
Kyle.
Kyle, I don't know. Don't care.
Shane and Kyle.
Shane looks a lot like Lance Bass.
Was he the blonde one? I did not.
Yes.
I couldn't. People were they were talking about how people couldn't tell them apart. I didn't know who was who in that.
And one of them was a brunette and one of them was a blonde. Wow.
Yeah, Kyle kind of looked like he had the middle part with he was kind of like Jonathan Taylor Thomas vibes. Brown hair, middle part, swoopy bangs in the front.
Yeah, super discounted JTT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Lance Bass. Oh my God, both of those guys dated Michelle, or not Michelle, Danielle Fishel from Boy Meets World.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay. Then the lingo, right? The SNC. That class is so SNC. Snooze and
Oh my
cruise.
God, if we're already to the dinner with mom and dad, we definitely
Yes.
skipped some big stuff here that I
Oh
need
no.
to.
Well, because I was so traumatized by the font choices. Helene?
Well, okay.
Oh,
So
it's true. Callie has split ends. I will never not not
yes.
remember that.
Yeah, the Kelly Hot split ends when they're okay. So they're looking for people who did not just watch this movie. They're in science class and they're looking at this girl's hair under a microscope. And the woman that is like having her hair looked at looks no younger than 30 years old. And she's supposed to be like their classmate. She looks so old compared to them. And, and then they're just looking at her hair under the microscope and it's like, that's it. Callie has split ends. OMG.
No,
Like,
it's funny how they intone it too, because it's just a masterclass in acting. Because it goes, it's true, Callie does have split ends, or something like that, or
yeah.
Callie has split ends.
Yep. And then the very next thing was I freaking died. They're like talking about all the class, like, oh, we take science, and then it does like the microscope with the hair. And
Yeah.
oh, we take English or language or whatever. And the girl says she was totally edging on my squeeze, so I dinged her with a bounce in the numbers lab.
And numbers lab is math class. Yes.
Yeah. So it means she was totally like flirting with my man, so I hit her with an eraser in math class.
Honestly, Helene, think about us trying to write a movie for this new generation, and we would come up with shit that is probably worse than that, I'm sure.
Okay, but I don't know if I can ever refer to an eraser as anything other than a bounce for the rest of my life. Like,
well, that is the contribution that team of writers, Elizabeth Kruger and Craig Shapiro, made for your life. So
I think okay, but did 13-year-old girls in 1999 speak like this, or was this just
no,
completely
made
like?
up. No,
Okay,
no, Helene, this is like if you and I, with no knowledge about this generation that is now in 7th grade,
right,
tried to figure out how to write a movie about 7th graders without talking to them, observing them, nothing. Like, oh, let's just would this like lingo sound to you like? And then they could be saying something that makes sense, and you're like, yeah, let's punch it up. Let's
I don't
do
know,
this.
man.
I
I
know.
was alive in 1999, albeit I was only 6 years old, but I was alive, and I've never heard the words bounce or like numbers lab or
No.
who, and like edging on my squeeze sounds like something's like that someone in the 50s would say. Like she was edging on my squeeze. Like
Also,
that's like
edging is like a word with
it's
real
very
serious connotations.
it's isn't it like sexual? I think it's sexual.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's not family friendly for this movie.
yeah. I'm telling you, someone just wrote like this lingo almost makes me convinced that ChatGPT existed in 1999, and they just were like, "Give me what would a 12-year-old say?" And ChatGPT was like, "She was edging on my squeeze." So,
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Also, before we get to the dinner, there was I'm sure you noticed this. I fought back the physical urge to text you while I was watching it because I wanted to save it for the podcast. The fact that one of the stupid blonde cheerleaders' names is Helene.
was Helene? Oh, I fought the urge. So
I died.
hard.
I screamed. I paused it, and I went back and I turned subtitles on because apparently you can still do that with old DVDs because I watched mine on a DVD. Yeah, and it's like it's spelled like my name and everything.
Yeah, no.
I
Darlene and Helene, right?
Yeah, Helene and Darlene, and it's like one they like called brain dead and the other they called clueless, but they never like explained which one was Helene and which one was Darlene. They're just like two blonde cheerleaders. So I was like, am I brain dead or am I clueless? Which one am I? I want to know which one is Helene.
We could definitely just go up and ask the writers, I'm sure.
Oh,
They would take
yeah.
time off their busy schedule running a fucking show and tell us, right?
Right, exactly. Um, Gotta go call those guys up, the
Hmm.
non-Gilmore Girls writers. Um, and then literally right after you meet Helene and Darlene, we get the amazing E. coli and F. coli
Oh yeah, that E. coli and F. coli
when they're
and
trying to
worms.
so they're trying to freak the girls out about the meatloaf that they're eating, saying that like 5 kids went home sick after eating today's meatloaf. They had E. coli and F. coli.
All the colis, the entire alphabet.
Yeah, and then they like took like a black like gummy worm and like pretended that it was on their plate and was like, "Oh yeah, well, look at what they found in your food." And then they like scream and run away
Yeah.
so that the boys will ask them out instead of Helene and Darlene. It's okay. I went out anyway though cuz I still get to go to the dance with them cuz I'm not going to Paris.
you, you may be brain dead and or clueless, but guess what? You're going to that damn dance.
Hell yeah. Helene's forever. Yes.
All right, so they get to the dinner. They're having dinner with their parents.
Yes.
The parents are like, "Oh my god, these girls are so like brain dead. All they care about is call waiting in the mall." My whole thing is like, "Okay, mom, but like a date at a mall is pretty cool. Like, I don't know. The
Yeah, I
problem
was
is,
like, dude, they're 13-year-old girls. Can you give them a break? Like,
yeah. Can we get to the part where the parents tell them about the trip to Paris?
yes, but really quick, the phone headsets that they wear while
Oh
they
my
are
god.
washing and drying dishes to call their
Are they
friends.
running a call center? Like, what is going on?
Okay, yeah, I mean, I literally, like, never in my life did I see normal people walking around using those for, like, normal reasons and not at a call center.
Exactly. I don't know. That was kind of weird,
They're
but
literally wearing so weird. Anyway, yes.
All right, so the parents go and tell them about like their trip to Paris as they're like, "You're turning 13. Congrats," basically, gift.
Mhm.
And there's like an interesting camera work choice that happens here where they like zoom in on one of the twins saying no into their
And then
mouth and come
yeah.
out of the other twin's mouth.
Yeah, that was, like, a
I was like,
fun, but also really weird optical zoom type thing.
yeah, so I was thinking, like, do you think, like, whoever did the cinematography or, like, even just the director was like, I am making capital A art
Art,
here.
yeah.
So we are going to do this a very
Well, you had to they have
avant-garde.
to capture they have to capture the drama. Like, it is so just life-ending that these girls have to go on a free trip to Paris instead of going to a dance. How dare
I
they
know.
miss their spring fling? But also, question, what school holds a dance during spring break?
Yeah, I don't know. That seemed like pretty sus to me.
Yeah, I'm like, hold dances when kids are definitely like have to like are going to be in town. Like a lot of people, and a lot of families like travel over spring break. Why would you do it during a break? That's weird.
I don't know. California laws? I don't know.
Yeah, it was odd.
It was really odd. Well, they had to give them something that they'd have to miss, I guess,
Right.
narratively speaking.
Hmm.
Guarantee you these people didn't have kids that age.
Yeah, but I mean, it was so weird because like yeah, it was obviously like oh my god no for like 2 seconds, but it didn't pay off because then they were just like okay, I guess we can't go, bye, and then like didn't matter. They moved
Also,
on so fast.
the packing montage, like, excuse me, why do they pack the way I do? Like, why do I pack like a 12-year-old or
They just
13-year-old
like
apparently?
throw full like things in their suitcase without trying to protect them at all. Like I think they threw like a whole plastic like makeup case in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Also, there was like a Titanic reference in there. I don't know if you caught that.
oh yeah, it was. Oh yeah, like something about something about the Titanic liking icebergs or something. But it was about the grandpa, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It was just it's kind of weird. It's just as much as the Titanic, like icebergs or whatever.
Right.
And then I was like, oh, my heart, it does go on.
Yeah, there's
Classic.
definitely that in there.
Okay, now we get okay. So we get that shot where they're in front of the house. They had their blue and pink backpacks that I wanted so much. Those were it for
So this
me.
is you mean this is after they've flown with
No,
the
no, no,
great
no, no.
graphics? Oh
No,
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 when
no,
they're
no.
leaving their house in
Before.
California.
No,
Yes,
I
okay.
wanted to talk about those graphics. Don't
Okay.
you even
Okay.
get
I thought you meant like the house, like their grandfather's house, but no. Okay,
no,
so
no,
they're
no, no,
leaving
like
their house in California to go to the airport.
they got
Yes.
their paper tickets because of course no
Yep.
electronic tickets back then. This is also pre 9/11, so I'm sure that the parents were able to walk them into their freaking seats
But
at
they
the
didn't.
airplane.
They didn't even get it. Like somebody else drove that car to the airport. The parents were not even in the car when the car drove away.
Well, yeah, well maybe the embassy sent it. I don't know.
Yeah, like it was like if Uber existed back then, because it wasn't a cab. They just got into like a green SUV and just
Well,
like,
you could still hire cars and it's not a
yeah,
taxi. Yeah, so
yeah,
like they got money. Like these girls got money.
yeah,
Um So they also have like the haggard mom slash fun dad combo situation in that scene. And previously, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
why? Why always the mom has to be like haggard and like no fun? And then we get to the plane ride, which has some special effects that we will see later as well.
Yeah, the graphics. I mean, it's 1999, so I guess I can't be that surprised. But I mean, like this was another reason that I knew the movie had like zero budget. Like they did not even try. Someone like drew this in paint and like motionized it. I don't know. It
Okay,
was
listen. I feel like okay, so I want to explain for those of us who just didn't watch this movie. Like there is a simulation of a plane with passing by a comically large statue of Liberty.
Mhm.
But also as it's going to France, there's a comically large Eiffel Tower. That's literally the entirety of France is just the Eiffel Tower and nothing else. And it just screamed, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Do you remember that like game from the
Yes.
90s?
Yes.
Literally that.
Question, because I don't know exactly. Because when you're flying from California to Paris, do you fly over the entire United States?
I have no
Like,
idea, girl.
would they have passed the Statue of Liberty, or would they have
I
gone like
don't
would?
think so.
Okay, I don't know exactly how that all works, but
I was like,
they definitely like talk about how they are like from LA. They lived in LA. Like she specifically says LA. So I was like,
but
okay,
there was like
that's
a
weird.
Statue of Liberty, or am I making it up
No,
in my
you there was
mind?
there. It was there for sure. I mean,
Okay.
yeah. I don't know.
I was like, the Statue of Liberty is on the opposite coast. Like, what is happening here?
Yeah, maybe they had to fly to New York first. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe there was like a security clearance thing they had to do. Quien sabe?
Right.
All right. So we get to Paris, or
Hmm.
what we are told is Paris, right? And we
Well,
meet. Go
wait.
ahead.
First, we're in the cab, and they're literally just like calling out every single like
Yes, the Arc de
monument.
Triomphe.
And
Right. Yes.
I'm like, okay, you are 13-year-old girls. I don't think that you know what all of these places are called or would be able to identify them on site. Because it wasn't just like the Eiffel Tower. Like, yeah, everybody can look at that and know that that's the Eiffel Tower. But it was like Notre Dame. Like, I don't know what Notre Dame looks like. I've heard about it. I don't know what it looks like. How do
I only. I mean,
two
I
13 year
only
old
know what
girls know what
it
it
looked
looks like?
like in the 90s.
Yeah. And like here's the Arc de Triomphe, and I'm like, okay, like yeah, I would have looked at it and been like, oh, that's a really cool like big arch thing. I would not have known the name. Like, why did they know all these things?
These girls contain multitudes, Helene. Don't
Yeah,
you know?
they were very very well written or well read on their Parisian history in this movie.
Okay, so they get to the high school in California that we're supposed to pretend is the embassy in Paris,
Yes, yes.
where we meet. I feel like far more important than their grandfather, a man named Jeremy Bluff.
J Man, I love J
J man.
Man. And he's one of those actors, I forget his name, but it's one of those actors that's literally in everything. Like you
It's like a
recognize him.
character actor.
Yeah, like you recognize him, but you don't know exactly why. He has like a bazillion credits on IMDb. Yeah, he's one of those.
You know, they get an ambassador grandpa. All I got was an alcoholic one. Then they also get Francois and Henri, who is not a fan of mac and cheese, if he is to be believed.
He's not a fan of anything except for snooty old French food, apparently. We also meet the butler. Wait, did you say the butler?
Yeah, Francois.
Francois. Okay, yes, Francois is the butler. Henri is the cook, the chef.
Henri is like that. Isn't there like a Muppet who cooks?
Oh my gosh!
And his French.
Yeah, I forget his name, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
He's literally that.
Yeah, he's big old snooty snoot. French chef.
The girls get to their room, which is like huge and whatever. And the first thing they do is put on rap music and put up posters
and jump on the bed.
Room. Well, wait. Put up posters in a room they are going to stay in, but for a week. Why would you have to put Wyclef Jean posters?
Yeah, they're really making themselves a home. Of course, when two teenage girls are alone, the first thing they want to do is jump around on beds and dance, and also draw fake mustaches with eyeliner on their faces.
Themselves. Yes.
And impersonate the snooty French chef.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the... Let me 1 second. The line she says when she's wearing it, she says, "The American cooking tastes like caca, poo-poo." That is what she says when she's wearing a mustache on her face.
Well, but that doesn't last too long because Grandpa marches right up the stairs and is like, "Not here, ladies. You are going to be good and proper while you're under my roof," kind of, right? And like this entire thing, I'm like, why did he mention the fucking mustache should have been like wiped
no
off
one said that was completely like just ignored by everybody. But also they're like, "Oh, 10 minutes in Paris and we're already in trouble." It's like, yeah, you little troublemakers. Goodness, why were you dancing to music loudly in your room? How dare you?
Americans, no sense of culture. Anyway, we're at dinner, right?
Yes, we're at dinner and they're eating escargot. And their grandpa was like, "Oh, I didn't know you girls liked snails." And then they, of course, we get a lot of nice food gags in this.
Yeah.
We get a spit take, but this first one they fling the escargot right onto Francois's face.
Poor Francois.
Yeah, he's the receiver of many food in face things
moments
in this movie. Yeah. Poor guy. But then they get offered a number of different French foods, like what was it? Force-fed goose liver and frog legs in a lemon butter sauce, and calf's brains.
Yeah, all these things that sound very appetizing to me as a 37-year-old, you know?
I mean, I actually am a huge fan of escargot. I love it. I've always loved escargot since I was a kid, to be honest. It's kind of weird because it just tastes like an oyster, kind of, and I'm a huge oyster person. So
disgusting. I cannot believe we're friends. You're disgusting.
I love a big salty, vinegary. But understandably, these 13-year-old girls are not here for that food, and they instead decide to sneakily try and order a pizza.
Which, by the way, comes from Pizza Hut. Not just like any pizza place in Paris,
speaking
which
of,
could probably be better, but you know.
Speaking of, we have, I think, at least 3 brand name drops in this film. We have American Airlines. They like specifically say and show an American Airlines plane that they fly.
Because guess what? Guess who paid for all the travel? American Airlines.
Yeah, so American Airlines, and then we get Pizza Hut called out specifically with the Pizza Hut box, and then McDonald's, which Francois specifically calls Mickey Donald's, which is really cute.
Yeah.
later on in the film too. So I'm wondering if those were all the sponsors in this film, but they probably
Oh,
were.
I'm sure they were on top of, other people.
Right.
Um, so the first day they're in Paris, the first full day is a museum day, right? So they go meet Jeremy, and right in front of the Louvre, they
They
meet.
almost get run over by these two dickheads on mopeds, but the dickheads turn out to be cute little 13-year-old French guys.
Yeah, it could have been a Taken moment, honestly. Like this movie
Right.
could have been Taken.
At
Uh,
first I was like, is this gonna go dark? Like, or are they gonna like, oh no, this could be really bad.
just showing us that the line between romance and a thriller is very thin.
Yep. Yeah, but nope, this is when we meet little Jean and Michel.
But and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll take the one in the red." Like they're just splitting up like
The girls say
boys.
that about the
Yeah.
boys, yes.
Yes.
The boys just stop to give them flowers and then leave.
And
Um,
speed off,
yes. But Allie, the
leaving
little,
but a name
yes,
to
right. But Allie, the little detail person, she sees that the back of their carts say, I think it was like Le Fleur de Chance,
uh-huh.
which is the flower shop that they were working at. So that's how they get found later
And,
on.
yeah, and we'll talk about how they find these boys cuz
Yes.
come on, really.
But
Um
we're getting to, I think, one of the most iconic scenes.
okay. So guys, as we talked earlier, they did film in Paris, but they have zero permits to film anywhere. So all
Yes.
we get is a lot of exterior shots, which, beautiful because Paris is very beautiful. But instead of being like they go into the Louvre, they get out of the Louvre, and they're defeated, I feel like I would accepted this far more than what we did get, which was the Olsen twins walking through a green screen simulation of what often my friend describes as a Encyclopedia Britannica montage from the CD of like Encyclopedia Britannica when
Yeah,
you know
it's like
those.
yeah, like the more you know, like things flying all over the screen, like
Yeah, like
it's like
just
at first it's just like obvious, like that it's a digital recreation of the Louvre, and they're just kind of like la
it's
di
like they
da fake
started out.
walking, and then
Okay, here. I think I've cracked it. It's like they started the artist started to really try to recreate the Louvre digitally, and he like submitted
Mhm.
like the first 3 or 4 seconds, right? Like, hey, here's my first draft to like recreate everything like you want it. It's going to be, half a million dollars or whatever, because it's very time consuming. And they said, we'll pay you 20 grand tops. You do with this what you want. And that's what he did.
Yeah,
That's
I
what he
mean,
did.
yeah, it's great because we get them like they're you can tell they're trying at least for like the first like 30 seconds. And then all of a sudden the paintings start flying off of the walls
But
and
Helene, that was the
just
first draft, right before it
yeah,
starts
swimming.
flying.
They're swimming
Yeah.
around in the air, and like Mary-Kate and Ashley are like pretending to duck and like not get hit in the head with a flying painting as one does at the Louvre. And and then eventually, as it's supposed to be showing like the descent of like, oh, this is really cool, to like, we're so fucking bored we want to blow our heads off. Like there it's like showing them like really just losing interest the whole time. And as it starts to show them like losing interest and being less excited by all the flying paintings, because I guess that's what happens in the Louvre. I've never been, so I cannot confirm or deny. Um, the like picture starts to get like all fuzzy, and it looks kind of like they're on LSD all of a sudden.
Yeah, no.
And
Honestly, they were on shrooms. Like, you cannot convince me that they weren't on shrooms and this was all just like a recreation of what they saw in their minds in the Louvre. Like,
yeah,
that would make way more sense to me.
yeah, it was very trippy. Um,
Ooh, what if the flowers were laced with shrooms?
The flowers that the
Plot
boys gave
twist.
them?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Plot
Well,
twist.
can you get that from just like sniffing them? Wouldn't you have to like eat them? I guess I don't know.
I have no idea about drugs, Helene. I'm just
The flowers had both E. coli and F. coli, and that is a really bad combination.
yeah.
It's just a
And G.
hallucinogenic.
coli.
All the colis.
All the coli.
So yeah, obviously this is
Also, like, I just have questions. Like, did the BBC not want to help out? I'm sure that they have like sound stages or sets that like
I'm sure they didn't.
could
It
have
was
used.
too expensive. I'm sure it had to have been money because yeah, they was like we can't shoot. We don't have permits to shoot in the Louvre. We don't want to spend the money to shoot in the Louvre. So we're just gonna do a complete digital recreation that descends into mushroom madness instead.
Okay, so I at some point stopped taking notes, and the first time I started again was when they made Brigitte. Is there anything between the Louvre and Brigitte that you want to talk about?
No, because my next note isn't until the montage of them and the boys hanging around in Paris by themselves.
Oh wow, Brigitte didn't even get a mention.
Oh, I talk about her. I talk about her a little later on, but I just think I had no notes.
Okay,
up until this part.
Okay, so they get out of the museums and they're like trying to avoid Jeremy and being sneaky. They duck off to this cafe where.
Well, no, they're at the cafe with Jeremy, and then Jeremy is like on the phone and gets up
Jeremy
to like
has to leave.
Yeah.
To get an important phone call or whatever.
Right.
Okay, thank you for keeping me honest.
Right. And Allie tries to order drinks, which it's funny because if she had used her French right, she would have literally just ordered drinks. Like the word means drinks. It doesn't mean like a specific drink. So I don't know what the waitress would have brought her, but instead she actually accidentally uses the word for fish.
Yeah. Okay. So
also, the waitress is awful because she orders 2 poissons or whatever it was, and the waitress brings her 1 fish.
Well, maybe she's like, oh, these kids, they're tiny. They can share.
Yeah, she's like, even if she thought she was ordering fish, she definitely ordered 2. But whatever.
So then they meet Brigitte, the Parisian supermodel that is all over the magazines they read. And Brigitte is wearing a cowboy hat, which I have thoughts on, and we will come back to those later. But
that's not the first time, or it's not the only time she wears a cowboy hat in this movie. Yeah,
this is not the only cowboy hat in the movie, and it's not the only hat work in the movie. Where we have a fashion segment that we will discuss this in. So, just wanted to point that out.
Oh yes.
And she orders these little girls, not juice, not water, not full fat Coke. No, Diet Coke. Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, I mean, I think back in that time, Diet Coke was like having its biggest moment. Because like that's when I got addicted to Diet Coke.
Did it ever stop?
No, yeah, but I mean, like I'm pretty sure that like everyone and their mother drank Diet Coke for breakfast, lunch, and dinner back in the 90s. Like that was my recollection of it, at least. Like.
Okay, so then we cut to the next morning where the twins have enacted a plan to meet their, what is it that you call them? Parisian hotties?
French hotties or Parisian hotties, both of them work, yes.
And what they did is they bought themselves flowers and got them delivered at the embassy.
Delivered, and they just happened to be delivered by those 2 boys, which is great.
Yeah, because they're very short-staffed, obviously. Helene, come on, get with the program.
Of course, yeah.
And convince these boys to ditch their work to hang out with these 2 girls.
Yeah, to go have lunch with them. And then they just invite them to lunch with them and Jeremy is just like, okay, fine, I guess.
And then they leave in the back of the mopeds and leave Jeremy to like chase after them.
No, I think the boys are going to follow Jeremy to the restaurant is what I thought it was happening. But this is where we learn that Jean speaks barely any English whatsoever. And Allie's French, as we've learned, is not great.
Yes.
As opposed to Melanie's French, which doesn't exist, but conveniently, Michelle speaks almost perfect English.
Correct.
I honestly think that Allie got the short end of the stick with that, though. Like, who wants, like, it sucks that you can't, like, connect with your guy because you can't speak the same language as them. That sucks.
They seem to connect all right. I just wanted to say Allie and Mal are terrible influences on these young boys' work ethic.
Yeah.
The mother and me jumped out at that.
Oh, yeah. These girls are awful influences in general. They're just really bad influences.
I can only hope that Olivia Penelope is a bad influence on someone else at some point.
And listeners who are not privy to our private lives, that is the name of Adriana's baby. She has a child, just so you know.
Oh, yes. I am someone's mother, which brings me no shortage of fear and incredulity, the fact that I am someone's mother now.
Fair. I think that's a fair feeling to have.
Okay. We also learned that the boys are part of a band, and the name of such band, are you ready for it, guys, is Videoheads.
Yep, Videoheads. It's like Radiohead, but like slightly different.
It's like Radiohead for the MTV generation.
Yes, Videohead. So they have lunch with the boys.
Also, I think this is the one where my favorite interaction of all time, my favorite lines of Jean the entire time is like about how he likes American girls over French girls.
That's a little bit later, but I know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah. But I'm going to still talk about it because I just love it. And he was like, because French girls are snooty, like, huh. But American girls, they go like, bonjour, bonjour, bonjour.
Yeah. Basically, in Jean's world, American girls are funny and French girls are too full of themselves.
I mean, in John's world, I feel like also American girls are a little bit more receptive to being talked to.
Yeah. Yes. But about this lunch, though. So they're at this lunch with Jeremy, who is just getting nauseous at the thought of these kids like drooling over each other. And
as he should.
Yes. And Jeremy goes to the bathroom. And while Jeremy's in the bathroom, the waiter comes over and Allie tries to order like chicken with the sauce on the side. And the waiter's just like, no, we don't do sauce on the side. And she's like, why? And he's like, we just don't do it. You have to have the sauce on your chicken. And Jean just jumps up, yells like a bunch of shit in French at this waiter, like reaming him out for not letting her order what she wants. And then he's just like, okay, fine, I'll give you chicken with sauce on the side. Right. So this whole thing happens and like there's this whole fight between Jean and the waiter. And then immediately after
they leave.
They're just like, okay, well, let's go show you what the real Paris looks like. And I'm like, you just had this whole fight with the waiter about what you wanted to order. And then you're not even staying around to eat it. No one has eaten anything. These girls barely eat at all in this movie. And so they leave. And then immediately as they leave, Jeremy comes back to see that they're not there and starts freaking out. But they seem to have had enough time to give a note to the host at the restaurant, who then hands Jeremy a note that says, we'll meet you back at the embassy at 5. And I'm like, this all happened in the span of 3 seconds. How did this work?
It's the magic of film.
And then we see them on the motorbikes with the girls on the back, just zipping away, waving goodbye to Jeremy as they leave him behind.
Well, and then he yells something that will never not be funny to me, which is, think of my career.
Right. Because that's what 13-year-old girls care about, is this random 35-year-old man's career. Right.
Mr. Bluff, come on. You were 13 once.
Exactly.
Okay, so they're on their mopeds.
Right.
I had a note about the mopeds.
Okay, go ahead.
This is also where the mom in me jumps out. Again, I am someone's mother. It is terrifying. Well, comma, at least they're wearing helmets. Literally my note on this.
Yeah, and as you'll notice, sometimes their helmets are like actually fastened. Sometimes they're not. You know, it's not great.
Whatever. It's not great. But continuity is not great.
Then we get a beautiful montage, which in 90s movies, montages are just height of of media back then. So we get the montage of the girls.
Cinema. It's the heart of
Oh,
cinema.
exactly. Yes. So we get this amazing cinematic montage of the girls hanging out with the boys in Paris. And literally the montage just consists of them literally just running around, literally physically running, just around different places, like chasing each other or whatever. And then they briefly stop into a French bakery, buy baguettes, and then
Run
go to
out.
and then go to the Eiffel Tower and have baguette sword fights in front of the Eiffel Tower.
I mean,
And
art.
I'm like, first of all, they've got to be tired. Like they literally just ran for and because this is like, and then they like go back at 4:45 is when they realize we have to go back. So it's like probably around like 3-4 hours of this because they were just like ditched lunch to go do this. For like 4 hours of just running around. Like all they did was run, literally, physically. I'm like, I'd be so tired. Is this what like a teenager's idea of fun is in Paris?
Maybe. I don't know, man.
Oh man.
So after all of this is happening, all I can think about is I feel sorry for all those people who didn't get their flowers delivered that day, because they just ditched, you know.
Eh.
And then there's like a scene, maybe it's mid montage where Michelle is explaining art to Mel.
I think that's the next day when they're on the bridge. Or maybe not. I don't remember.
Like if boys wouldn't boysplain art to us, would we ever understand art?
Well, I mean,
Like,
it was pretty
I'm
obvious that
thinking-
she did not. She literally looked at it for 0.3 seconds and then turned to leave. And he was like, "Wait, no, stop! Look at it." Like,
I mean, I just thought like the first thought about like, look, we'll get to this. Love Michelle. I'm not saying he's bad. It was just like the archetype of this boy is that he's gonna grow up to be an insufferable asshole in an MFA somewhere in the nation. Like just voice-planning things to women who are there to make art as well.
Maybe, but she seemed receptive to it. She wasn't pissed off about it.
Just because one person is receptive doesn't mean he can do it to everyone.
That's true. Well, we don't have evidence that he does it to everyone or will do it to everyone. But I see what you're saying.
Like, I love Michelle, but at that part, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna be that guy in an MFA class."
That's fair. I could see that. Maybe, possibly.
All right. So next day is very interesting.
Yes. So they're trying to figure out how they can meet the boys at the bridge at 2.
Mm-hmm.
And they decide to change the itinerary. So instead of going to another museum, which they're so sick of museums right now, museums are so boring. They change it to go to the Luxembourg Gardens, which, if you were paying attention in the Brigitte scene, we didn't talk about this, but in the Brigitte scene, she says that on Thursday, she's doing a photo shoot at Luxembourg.
Mm-hmm.
And so they at the gardens. So they changed the itinerary so that they go to Luxembourg Gardens on Thursday and accidentally run into Brigitte, who just happens to be...
They orchestrate the dorkiest meet cutes of all time. I loved there was like a segment here where he was explaining something to her about the Macarena being something that helped him win a deal or whatever.
I think it was the Saudi prince. He was like, the Saudi prince was like, "I will sign your chords,
your state deal, or whatever."
Yeah, if you teach me the Macarena. And she's like, "What did you do?" And he just like starts doing the Macarena. It was cute.
And like, and then Mel and Allie are like, "Should we do a citizen's arrest?" And I lost it.
Yeah, because it was like the geek was a freak show or whatever. But I have to say, her black like fuzzy hat. But can I just say, I love the idea that they had this supermodel in this movie, and they decided to make her smart as fuck with a master's degree and a dissertation on international relations and the Middle East. And then later she talks about wanting to go get a PhD, which I was like, this girl, I find she's the best thing in this movie. I love Brigitte. She's awesome.
Also, I was just so tired about thinking about all that studying and working. Girl, like, I know you're wearing a furry hat that looks like one of those microphone things, like they put
Hmm.
on microphones, and it looks silly as shit, but
Yeah, her
aren't
hat
you
was
tired?
that was really funny. I'm like, I'm guessing she must be modeling for some sort of fashion brand. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
probably.
no idea
All right,
what.
so
But anyway,
that,
her and
yeah.
J-Man hit it off. And she convinces him to let them go meet the boys at the bridge at 2, like they were supposed to.
Yeah, and then that is a success. What do you have next?
I did not take notes until the dinner scene with the French Prime Minister. So,
Oh,
uh,
I took wait. Okay, my next note is about Jeremy bringing them contraband McDonald's like it's a drug deal, and
yes.
and him forgetting to get the the milkshakes because he's poor. He's
He's like,
like, "Oh,
I only had a like certain amount of money, and then later he takes them out for the milkshakes anyway. I'm like, where did you get the other money from? Where's the money from? Weren't you out?
well, probably from Henri, because what we didn't talk about is Henri gets to experience the delicacy of American cuisine firsthand.
Mickey Donald's, as he calls it.
Mickey
Yes.
Donald's, as he calls it, and he falls in love with hamburgers and French fries. So much so that French fries are in the breakfast for the
Yes,
for,
but he makes crinkle cut fries for the grandfather for the breakfast the next
yeah.
day.
Also, did
So
you notice in the background? Okay, this is something that really troubled me. In the background of that scene, there was the French maid in a
yeah,
French maid outfit,
who was
which
dancing around? Yeah,
dancing around, and I was like, "Is this? Are we to
we're getting
believe
sexual.
that we're getting sexual here? Like, is that the ambassadors like little hottie?
Yeah,
Like
I
this
was
is
like, what is
this
this?
just this just became a different movie for me.
Yeah, but no, she's just jamming out to Amy and Melanie or Allie and Melanie's music, and then does the sick ass dance move at the end of the scene where she
Yes,
like
yeah,
throws her leg up and like falls back, and I was like, dang girl, she's getting into it.
yeah. No, America corrupting France.
Right.
Um, then they have a day with Brigitte of shopping, right?
Yes. Yes. Brigitte takes them shopping
And
and
that's
we get
where, my friends, that's where they go shopping, but not one store. We do not see the inside of one store. Like it is just they run out of the store holding an item that they are asking the other two people who are outside of the store waiting for them, by the way, to a yay or a nay
yeah, it's
situation.
like one of those it's like a basic fashion montage where in normal things, the people would be coming out of the dressing room wearing different things saying like how does this look? And then the other people would be like yay or nay or like
Yeah,
whatever,
exactly.
except that they can't go into the shops. So they're
And it's
literally
all
leaving
and it's all
leaving.
accessories as far as I could tell. Like
Yeah,
there's
it's
not
like
a top, there
yeah, it's
is
like
not a
bags and
dress.
shirts, bags and
Yeah.
scarves and stuff and hats. Yeah, and they just like walk out of the store with the merchandise without obviously with like multiple different like bags or multiple different scarves or whatever to show them like all the options and then go back in and go grab
And
something
not
else.
paying for one of them.
Yeah, and I'm like there is not a chance in hell that as any store owner would just let you leave with like armfuls of merchandise that you haven't paid for.
Okay, and then this gets me to my next cowboy hat point, which is where
Yes.
we see more cowboy hat work, in which we see a blue cowboy hat and a
And a
pink
pink.
cowboy hat,
Yeah. Yeah.
as well as a cow print oversized slouchy top hat looking
Oh
thing
my god,
with
I loved it.
sunflowers
Yeah.
around it.
I loved it. I was like obsessed with it. It was like a big, huge, fuzzy cow
Floppy.
print top hat with
Yeah.
like lined with sunflowers
Yes.
around
With
like the
fake
rim.
sunglasses. Yeah.
And it was so cute. I
I cannot
actually
believe that we have this different.
I
Okay.
mean, I
The
obviously
first
would
fight of
never
the
wear
show. The
it,
first
but
fight of the show is going to be about this goddamn hat.
I would never wear it, but I thought it was adorable. I would much prefer it to for a freaking cowboy hat. God
Oh, I'm
no.
saying that okay. What I'm trying to say here is, and I will get more into it during our fashion segment, is that the
Yeah.
hat work in this movie was atrocious.
Yeah, they should have just not done any hats. I mean, Melanie wears an array of different like headscarves, like
The
bandanas.
bandanas, yeah, they
Yeah,
look great.
and those were
Leave
good.
them
Those were
there.
fine. And
Yeah,
then
but I'm
Allie had
talking
some
about real hat
really
work.
and then
Like,
Allie had some really cute headbands. Yeah.
yeah, the headbands and the bandanas, great,
Yeah.
beautiful, fantastic. The hat work, terrible.
Yeah,
Guys,
agreed.
come on.
I can agree with you on that. Except for that cow print sunflower hat was really freaking cute.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe you. Oh, well, I know what to get you for Christmas then, though.
Hey, I like I said, I would never be able to pull it off, and I would not wear it. But on someone else, especially on someone as beautiful as Brigitte. Hey, I'll take it. It was pretty.
All right, so then the girls are going to Restaurant Jean-Michel.
Yes. They go to like
And
this rooftop where they have a view
okay,
of the Eiffel Tower.
and do we think this is the first time the guys have done something like this? Or was it
I
like maybe an
mean,
older brother told them about the
yeah.
trick?
Okay, I'm thinking that because they're 13-year-old boys. I doubt that they've pulled this that many times before because they're so young, but
I just
maybe.
felt like it wasn't new. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't. I was like, this is not the first time
Well,
either
then how
them
did
or
they get
someone in
caught?
their
You would think
family.
you would think that if they had done this before, they would know how not to get caught, but they get caught
Well,
anyway.
they put a biker jacket on top of the not trespassing sign.
Yeah, and of course, because they can't, because French police have object permanence or don't have object permanence, so if they can't see it, it doesn't exist.
They are 13-year-old boys. I know
Yeah.
33-year-old men who would also think this way.
Yes, well, we see them having to be taken home to the embassy in a police car because they were trespassing on this
No, but
rooftop.
before they get there though, before they get
Yeah.
to the embassy, I laughed out loud at Brigitte's like one line to Jeremy, which was they're okay. It's women's intuition, I know. Like
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
really? LOL, Brigitte. Women's intuition? Really?
I like how she basically they get to the gelati. They call it gelati instead of gelato. I don't know if there's a difference, but they get to the gelati stand on the side of the street, and she's like, "Oh, I want to share a chocolate gelati," and he's like, "Oh no, I don't like chocolate. I only like vanilla." And she's like, "Well, I like chocolate," and he's like, "Okay, one chocolate, please." I understand it's supposed to be like sexy or whatever, but it was like, okay, is your whole relationship just her telling you what you like now? Like, do you have to like that was
Honestly,
not
that sounds
great.
like the perfect relationship to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I was like, okay, so first date, second date in, and he's already whipped. So that's good.
Yeah, that's again perfect relationship.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then we get to them getting in trouble, Jeremy growing a pair and standing up for himself
And quits. Yeah.
and quit. Wow.
Yes, but not before having like talked to the girls in confidence about his water treaty work that the ambassador has been ignoring.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
You
because
mean
that
the,
becomes
like,
important later. Yeah.
the A line plot for sure of this movie is the
Yeah.
water treaty. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Sorry,
Of
guys.
course. Well,
Like,
I'm mentioning it now because it plays a very big part later on.
okay. All right. And then we learn, I feel like the most significant part of this movie, and maybe you will or won't agree with me, don't care, is that we learn that Grandpa has big Joe Biden energy. When he's like, some people want me to retire, but I still have a little fight left in me.
Yeah,
And I'm like,
I was sitting
okay,
there
Joe
like
Biden.
I was sitting there like that meme with the lady with like all the equations floating around her head,
Yeah.
trying to figure out the math here because he says that he met his wife at the end of World War II. He was a soldier in World War II. He came back and met her when he got back from World War II in Paris.
Let's say he was 20.
Yeah, so end of World War II was like 1960s? Is that really off? Is it 1950s?
I think it's in the 50s, my friend.
World War. I'm gonna look it up because I want to figure this out. It lasted from 1939 to 1945. It was 1945. So literally, okay, so if he was 20,
In 1999, it would have been 44 years after that, so 64.
but then that doesn't make sense because he says that him and his wife were married for 45 years and she's clearly dead now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so if they got married in 19, say he proposed to her in 1945 or whatever, because he says that he met them and that he met her and then almost immediately got engaged.
Yeah, she should have.
Say
Yeah,
they got
no,
married
it
in
can't be
19.
45. There's no way to be 45 years.
Well, no, there is, because if they get married in 1946, like say they get married a year after they get engaged, that would make 45 years. Then wouldn't that be 1991?
I guess.
So then she could have
Okay,
died in 91, and then, but yeah, but then so then he's got to be like almost,
in his 70s. He's in his
is he
70s.
70s?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes it checks out though. Then, because I was like, that timeline feels so shaky to me. I don't.
But also, who else is in his 70s? Joe Biden. Again.
Isn't Joe Biden in his 80s? I think Joe
Probably.
Biden's.
I think
Joe Biden's like 82 or something. Like,
okay, let's use Google. Anyway, maybe we shouldn't be allowed to use Google while we record for authenticity purposes.
you mean you want us to sound like complete idiots to our listeners?
I mean, it wouldn't be a change for me.
Okay, he's 80. He is 80. He's not 82, but he's 80.
Okay, well, he just turned 80.
However, he was born 3 years before this man met his wife. He was born in 1942.
Okay, but girl, we are in 2023, not 1999.
I know. It's just funny. Down. Anyway, full circle.
Do you think? Wait. Do you think Joe Biden saw this and he's like, "I've got it. I've got a path for the second leg of my career."
Yeah, I love that your confidence in the fact that Joe Biden has sat down and watched the Mary-Kate and Ashley movie Passport to Paris.
Well, in his mind, it's a story about a man who people want.
No, it's a story about foreign policy. It's a story about foreign policy. He watches this movie to make sure that he does good French foreign policy is what he does.
Could you imagine him talking to Emmanuel Macron about this movie?
He's like, if you remember, in the 1999 classic of Passport to Paris, the Americans got the French Prince
which filmed in Paris without any fucking permits. Our bad.
Well, just so you know, 2 young twin girls got the French Prime Minister to sign a treaty. Anyway,
then we get to the a plot of the movie, which is the water treaty dinner.
Yeah. So the dinner scene, So they have something that we didn't mention earlier on is that the grandfather has been working all week towards this very big, like, state dinner with the French Prime Minister to talk about this water thing. There's like a clean water treaty that the Americans want the French to sign so that they'll work together towards cleaner water. And so the dinner happens and the grandpa's all mad and mean because they snuck out that one time and say that they can't go to this dance that Jean and Michel invited them to because he is punishing them and he wants them to go to this dinner with the French Prime Minister instead. So he gets them these dresses and they wear them to dinner. And this dinner scene, first of all, the dresses are amazing. They're the same exact dress, but Melanie's is red and Allie's is black. And they're like these spaghetti strap tank top dresses with like
embroidered
floral detailing or whatever on the top,
like
and
embroidered flowers or whatever.
Yes, yeah. And they have these cute little blacks like slingbacks, and they're very cute, very cute.
Also, all the shoes in this film, Steve Madden. just so you guys know.
Oh, I did not know that. I love their big
Yeah.
mules. They're like their black mule clogs. Those were
And they had them in this movie, and they were iconic also in the
yeah,
90s.
they're amazing. But anyway, so this dinner scene is a work of art. This is probably my favorite scene in the movie, um, for so many
Wow,
reasons.
big words, big words.
Yes, because they bring back so many things from earlier in the movie. Like they like do so many callbacks, and they're like very subtle and not like overstated. So like right before they go down to dinner, you see the girls reading out of like this black like binder talking about the mercury content is 27
Mm-hmm.
parts per million or whatever. And you're when you watch that, you're like, what the fuck are they talking about? Like, I have no idea what this is about. And then it comes full circle because that's like they use it in their speech about the water, and you're like, oh, they were studying Jeremy's like writing, his like treaty that he was writing for the water stuff. I don't know what he was writing. It was a thing.
He was probably writing a white paper, like a research paper, to like show people like
Right.
why. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then there, earlier on, we didn't mention either of these things, but earlier on in the movie, like when they're out to the restaurant, they're out like eating at restaurants, Melanie like makes some comment about, she's like, why is everybody drinking water out of bottles here? Like, whatever
Mm-hmm.
happened
Mm-hmm.
to drinking water out of like a sink? And Michelle is like, oh, well, you know, if you drink water out of the sink here, you'd get pretty sick or whatever. And she's just like, oh, okay. And like, I didn't think of anything of that when that happened. I was just like, oh, okay, fun Paris fact for you. And then there's like a time when they're at dinner, that very first dinner, where they jinx each other. Like they say something at the same time. And I think Allie jinxes Melanie. And they establish that when you get jinxed, you can't talk until someone says your name. And so
Yes.
they bring that back in here too, because like they're in the middle of this big speech and they both say something at the same time and they both jinx each other, and then they both look at each other and they're like, what do we do? Because like they can't speak because they've both been jinxed. And then
The classic dilemma of every young people.
and then their grandpa just goes, oh right, Allie, Melanie, and then they can speak again. I thought it was amazing. It was so funny. Anyway, the actual plot of the scene was that like they get Francois to like pour dirty water in the cup of the prime minister. And then when he freaks out and he's like, what is this about? Why did you do this? And they're like, well, if you sign the treaty, you can have better water. And they like, you give all these like French facts about like Napoleon Bonaparte, like creating sewers
Aqueducts,
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they like that. It's just so. And then at the end, he's like, well, Ambassador, I'm sorry to tell you that your granddaughters are much more convincing than you are. And like, and then he signs the treaty because these two teenage girls convinced him to. And they enact actual real good French foreign policy at this dinner. I just think it's amazing.
I mean, I'm just putting it out there. Joe Biden has a lot of grandkids, and maybe that's by design. He saw this movie and was like, you know who's going to help me in my career? Grandchildren. I'm going to tell my children to procreate.
Yeah, well, they got to watch this movie and study up, because Mary-Kate and Ashley did it with a certain flair that is really necessary.
Well, it's really never going to match the original, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the only other comment I had about this scene towards the end of the movie was that poor Francois always gets spit in the face.
Yeah, he got wine spit in his face earlier, and now dirty mud water. Poor guy.
And also, I mean, escargot wasn't necessarily like a spit in the face, but I'm sure it felt like one. So yeah. I'm putting that in there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he gets all the food face moments, like you said.
Okay, so then the movie kind of ends with them being able to attend Videohead's performance. The boys come and dance with them. They get their first kiss. Jeremy and Brigitte also kiss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny. They did the exact same thing because, like, with the girls and Jean and Michel, they do like one tiny little innocent kiss on the lips and then hug. And then
Uh-huh.
when it got to Jeremy and Brigitte, they do a kiss on the lips and then they hug. And I'm like, that is not what adults would have done. They would have
Oh,
just kept
but
kissing.
you
Like
should
they
have
would have
seen.
started making out.
Did you see the post-credit scene though?
I watched I watched all the post-credit scenes. I don't remember that being
There's
in
like
one of the
they were actually hardcore making out, and then he stops and goes, "Kids movie."
What? No, I watched the whole thing. Oh my god, I must have missed that. I have to go watch because it was all just outtakes. I watched like all the
Yeah.
way.
So it was like kind of like them, not like hardcore, like not like pornographic, but like
Yeah.
the kiss was like
Oh, dang it.
longer and more substantial than the girl's kiss,
Uh,
and then they stop, and
dang
he
it.
yells, "Kids movie."
That's what I was wanting in the scene itself. Dang it. I should go back. I should go back and try and find that scene. I don't know how I missed that. That's amazing.
Said that I laughed so hard.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of which, speaking of my husband,
Right.
we
Wait,
are
before we get
okay.
there,
Before
well,
we get there, okay, go ahead.
just to finish out the summary, basically, they have their first kiss, blah blah blah. Then they go back to the embassy and they say goodbye to all the staff. And they get in the limousine with their grandpa to catch a plane back to the United States. And he surprises them and says, "I'm coming with you. I need a vacation." And so now
And
they have to
Jeremy got
spend.
promotion.
Yeah, and Jeremy got rehired and a promotion. Now he gets to do policy stuff because, like, the water treaty was his thing that the girls ran with, and now they get to spend even more time with their with their grandpa, but in America. And then the movie ends with them in some truly iconic outfits, which we will get to later, walking out of their house, reading a textbook, trying to figure out where they want to visit next when Shane and Kyle come up and ask them out again. And they mix them up. Like the girls mix the boys up and they get really offended. And because apparently the girls care about that stuff, which we didn't talk about, but they did like a test to see if John and Michelle could like tell them apart. So anyway, they mix the boys up, they get offended, and they like turn the boys down, and then they walk away, reading their textbook, talking about Africa and Rome and stuff.
But Helene, wouldn't you get upset if you had a sister and no one could tell you apart?
Yeah, I mean, that would be frustrating if I were a twin, and even like the guy I like thought that, I mean, yeah, it would suck. It would definitely suck.
I mean, there's a reason why they care, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, okay, no, it's not unwarranted. They just care.
Okay, so speaking of my husband, as we're talking about the post-credit scene and how much we laughed at kids movie line, yes. In this show, we're trying out something. Well, everything we're trying out is new because it's a new show, but we're trying out something a little bit more new, which is giving a voice to the voiceless in our society, which is white men, clearly. And so what we've asked of my husband, Seth, is that he watch everything that we are watching for this show, keep his thoughts to himself, record his thoughts on a voice memo. And now Helene and I are going to be listening to those thoughts for the first time live on the show.
Oh my God. I'm so excited.
Now that we've got all our notes out of the way, I feel like it's now time to do this also. It's better. All right, so let's do this.
This is a movie where Mary-Kate and Ashley spend a lot of time explaining France to people who live there. One of them usually wears pink and the other one usually wears blue. And I'm trying to figure out if they're trying to code who Mary-Kate is and who Ashley is, like which one's more masculine and feminine or something. If I was one of those right-wing creeps like Matt Walsh, I would try to film a monetized YouTube video having a shit fit trying to code the gender politics of a 24-year-old movie for tween girls. The edible took hold right around the part where they introduced the French chef to McDonald's. Not even the powers of THC could make that food look appetizing. I think this is also why I kept trying to anticipate plot points for Lizzie McGuire movie in Passport to Paris. This movie taught me that the Louvre looks like the Windows 98 screensaver. At no point did I believe this embassy was in France. The interiors had serious 90s Southern California vibes, like it was Rancho Santa Fe and Marshall Applewhite was going to pop out of a door at any time. One of the love interests wears a bucket hat, which is a subtle way of signaling that he's either French, like Serge Gainsbourg, or a pervert, like Serge Gainsbourg. This movie has two actors in it that'll make you say, hey, it's that guy. In this case, those guys are actors Matt McCoy and Matt Winston. Oddly, there's a lot of cowboy hats in this Olsen Twins movie that's not the Western. Has Zoomers discovered these movies yet? I think they like the clothes. They do like those Chandler Bing-ass pants. And I don't think they're going to stop until they successfully resuscitated the Delia's catalog.
Yeah.
Anyway, apparently this movie was filmed on location without permits, which kind of shows. Those are my thoughts for Passport to Paris. Thanks.
My God, is he like a stand-up comedian? Look at Seth go.
Okay, so sometimes you could hear Olivia kind of cooing or,
I heard that. Yeah, I heard Olivia.
or doing stuff in the background. Guys, just know that. Okay. Wow, so many thoughts. The blue-pink coating, we kind of talked about that already. We talked about the no permits situation. What else struck you from Seth's thorough review of the movie?
The fact that he's talking about Michelle wearing the bucket hat, and it was like, it either means you're French or you're a pervert. Oh my God.
The hat work, honestly, the hat work alone in this movie is just too much. Actually, we could just move on to the fashionista versus fashion victim if you want, or do you want to leave that for later? Okay, let's move on to the fashion. For me, the fashionista moment, as in the moment I was like, yes, this is working. It was the backpacks, because they were everything I wanted since I was 13 years old. That has not changed one day. And it's been almost 25 years. I'm still not over it. Where can I find them?
If you watched, I since I watched on the DVDs and I had special features, the only special feature that was specific to this film was like a fashion like spotlight where this lady who is a random lady is talking about the fashion in the film, and I sent it to you, so you can watch it later, Adri. But
okay, gotcha.
But she does say that those backpacks at the time were specifically only in Europe and could not be found in America, and that's why Mary-Kate and Ashley wanted to use them, because they were like the height of fashion in Europe at the time, but they were not available in America. Yeah,
that's why I couldn't find any of them.
They might be available.
I imagine me living in a tropical island. I already get like half of what y'all get, in the United States, like especially in the 90s and the early aughts. Like you couldn't get a lot of the stuff. Like you would only get maybe half of what was popular, and they knew that would sell, right? So if people in America couldn't find them, imagine how much I couldn't find them.
I'm sure that, it's possible they're available in America now, but back then they were not available in America, which is just rude of them to release the movie with something that all the girls would want that they can't get unless they live in Europe.
Elitist.
Yeah.
Elitist.
It sucks.
All right. So what was your fashionista moment?
I had a few. I actually really didn't have any fashion victim moments. If I had to choose, it would just be the cowboy hats. But so I had a few. So the first one that I loved was that Allie is wearing this pink headband with pink flowers on it, and her hair is like in pigtails at the beginning of the movie, and then she wears it again when they're in Paris when they go to the Louvre, and her hair is just down. But I was obsessed with that hairband. If I had one, I would wear it all the time. Loved it. And then, of course, their iconic matching out the black outfits with like the black leather jackets with those colored backpacks. And you see Mel's backpack is blue, Allie's backpack is pink. But if you noticed, and I thought this was really interesting, they're both wearing these round sunglasses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
they're pink and blue.
But the color of the sunglasses match the other person's backpack. So Mel's backpack is blue, but her sunglasses are pink, and Allie's backpack is pink, but her sunglasses are blue.
Très chic, magnifique.
Yes, but then also another way that I thought was really like a cool visual cue that they used to like tell them apart is that in that scene, and even like up until like the dinner scene that night when they first get to Paris, Mel's hair is flipped out at the ends, and
Yes,
Allie's is
yes.
flipped in.
It's in, yeah. I
Yeah.
was looking at that too.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. And then my favorite fashionista moment was, or my last favorite fashionista moment was the very final scene when they're, blowing off Shane and Kyle when they've gotten back from Paris. They're walking out. They're wearing those same sunglasses, except this time they're switched, and Mel is wearing the blue and Allie's wearing the pink. Allie is wearing, this is my all-time favorite outfit. Okay, so she's wearing like this fuzzy purple tube top with a matching scarf, like made from the same fabric of the tube top that's like going over her shoulders, and then silk purple floral capri pants with her like black mules that she's wearing, along with her pink sunglasses, the pink sunglasses from before. And I was like, you are a vision in purple. It is the most 90s outfit. Like, this is just like fuzzy and like soft purple tube top and matching scarf. Oh my God, it was amazing.
All right. So my fashion victims moment, I would like to ban all capris.
Oh no, I loved capris.
Personally, I hate a capri. That's just me, guys.
Oh,
It's
I
fine.
love
I feel like
capris.
all the hat work, as I've said in this movie, is atrocious, especially cowboy hats. The cowboy propaganda is tragic at best, horrible at worst. And this is I will keep you with my last note on the fashion victim. Jean wearing a beret is so wild. And also the hat work in this movie is sus. That is.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you and your husband would agree on all of that. So
and we watched this movie. I would make kind of like snide jokes here and there, right? But we watched this movie without us exchanging views on anything that happened on screen. Like I wrote my notes, he wrote his. He just recorded his voice memo upstairs right before we started.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about this movie at all.
That's gotta be tough for you.
It is. It's hard.
Yeah. Do it for the art, though.
We do it for the fans anyway, and the haters. Let's get to Feminism 101.
Yes.
A segment where we're going to talk about this pass the Bechdel test and any other items related to feminism. Helene, did this pass Bechdel test, and when did it?
It actually did, and I have two specific examples of when it did. The first we actually very briefly spoke about with at the beginning when Allie is in class with her friend in science, looking under the microscope, talking about Kelly's split ends. Mm-hmm. So they are talking about Kelly's hair and not a man. So there's that. Also, Kelly.
I was going to mention that as the real true Bechdel test passing moment, because it's like, yes, they're talking about a woman.
they are tearing another woman down, which is not great, but it does technically pass the Bechdel test.
Correct.
Then
if it was pass fail, it would technically pass it.
Yes, and then it also helps because there's this one other moment where the girls are meeting Brigitte for the first time, and Brigitte and Allie are talking about Allie's French skills. So that has absolutely nothing to do with boys. They do eventually go on to talk about like, like we like reading fashion magazines and going to the mall and meeting and we want to meet boys and stuff. So like they somewhat talk about it later, but early on in that conversation, they are just talking about French. So
and Brigitte talks about how they should pay more attention to other things than fashion magazines.
Exactly.
So technically also passing that test. What was your favorite girl power scene in this masterpiece?
This is one where Okay, I think that, like, on a side note, this could be a really fun cold open if we opened with this. But it's this quote from when the girls were having dinner with their parents, and Melanie goes, sorry. Melanie goes, if we were running the world, there'd be no wars, that's for sure. There'd be so many pool parties and everybody would be in a great mood. Nobody likes to fight in a bikini.
Oh, listen. The way I looked at Seth and said, were Jello fights not a thing in 99? Because
yeah, I mean, she said that and I was like, hell yeah, girl who run the world girls. That's for damn sure.
but also it kind of doesn't make sense because in 99 there was such a thing as Jello fights.
Yeah, but to 13-year-old girls, come on.
That were aimed at them.
But also, nobody likes to fight in a bikini. The guys like to watch girls fight in bikinis, sure, but the girls don't necessarily like doing it.
It's just, I found a lot of flaws in that logic. My favorite girl power scene was when Brigitte was like, fuck yeah, I'm smart. Like, I'm also going back to school and doing a PhD. What do you have to offer?
Yeah, that was my second choice.
My ex was a Grand Prix driver. Like, whatever.
Yeah, when she was, just Brigitte in general was such a girl power mood. I loved her.
Yeah, no, you know what she reminded me of? A little bit of, like, if the Spice Girls, like vibe, but, like, supermodel.
Ooh. Well, I feel like the Spice Girls all kind of gave supermodel. I mean, Posh gave most supermodel.
Yeah, no, but, like,
energy.
you know, that level of celebrity energy, but instead of musician, supermodel.
Yeah. I mean, there are people out there like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so this movie, as all Mary-Kate and Ashley movies, have two main love interests.
Yes.
Who were you crushing on?
I think we're going to agree on this one. Ignoring the fact that it's creepy because they're only 13, which I'm just going to
let's please ignore that. And I'm going to, the only reason I am able to ignore this, I want to be clear, is Helene and I have watched these movies many a time, especially when we were actual children and these people were actual children.
We were of appropriate age, yes. So because of that, I think I would have fallen for Michel because he's the tall, dark, and handsome type who's like sensitive and brooding and emotional. And Jean was
going to make it.
What?
He's gonna be
whatever. Mansplaining. Shush you. Anyway.
What's the bucket hat? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the bucket hat. No, I just think Jean was really cute too, but his Leo energy was just too much for me. I just couldn't. He was like, I would have gotten like tired. It's a lot.
Well, we agree. I mean, my boo was always Michelle. Although when I was watching this movie, I was trying to figure out something. I was like, Seth, who do you classify yourself as? A Michelle or a John? And he looked at me, not missing a beat, and he said, John. So I feel like I made the wrong choice. Yeah.
Really? Interesting.
So I'm a girlie who loves Michelle, but is definitely married to John, apparently.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I know. Sometimes, you know, you learn something about your spouse that makes you go, huh, didn't see that one coming.
True.
You think you know someone, and then they tell you they're Jean and not Michelle.
Yeah, you think you know someone, and then you do a podcast on the 1999 classic Passport to Paris, and you learn.
And that's how marriages start to crack. Anyway, does it stand the test of time, Helene? That's the real question. Does Passport to Paris still slap?
I'm going to say yes. Because I still think that it aged pretty well, to be honest, overall. It aged pretty well. It wasn't like super cringy to watch. The only thing I don't think aged well or stood the test of time were the graphics.
Fair. Very fair.
It honestly wasn't
Um,
even that like poorly acted. It was pretty well acted, to be honest.
it was fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I will say spiritually it does stand the test of time. It feelings wise, yes, very nostalgia, very like, yeah, it's a moment in time.
Yeah.
I can access that moment pretty easily in my memories and feelings.
Yeah.
Technically, though, I will have to give it a failing grade
Really?
only because, no, I mean, as in a technicality, right? As in, guys, really? The Louvre? Really? The, like,
Yeah. So
flight over? Like, there's, like, a lot of, like, moments
okay.
where I'm like, really?
Question though. If they were able to remake the film today with like a normal budget where they could actually film on location in Paris with permits and go inside the Louvre and have good graphics and all of that stuff and not use Comic Sans font, but use like the same like script and everything, would you
I mean,
still go see it? Would you still like it?
nominate that for an Oscar,
Okay.
obviously.
Okay. Good. Because that's kind of where
And
I'm standing at.
I want Mary-Kate and Ashley to reprise their roles as adults pretending to be 12-year-olds.
Or they're like they played like the Jeremy role and they like mentor little girls in Paris. I don't know. I think that would be cute.
I just think it's more hilarious to have like two 37-year-olds play 12-year-olds.
It's our first time in Paris.
Kind of like what's that show that like it's like 30-year-olds playing like teenage versions of themselves. Oh my god. Oh, Pen 15. Pen 15. So
oh,
like
Pen 15. I'm like, all I could think of was like This Is Us, but I don't think, but that's not true because
No.
like they have younger actors playing them. Anyway.
So it'd be like Pen 15, but Passport to Paris style.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Sounds good to me.
Oh my god. Or they can recast whatever. I would definitely let it happen. I'd be like, yes, I will give you my hard-earned money for this.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
mean,
cool.
I went to see
agreed.
the Barbie movie 3 times and then bought it. Like,
there we go.
Clearly I am starved for entertainment.
Feminist entertainment.
Correct. This is the most feminist movie, obviously.
Of course.
All right. So, as we any more Passport to Paris thoughts before we close?
No, I think we covered it. I mean, overall, good movie. I like it.
I mean, overall, spiritually, emotionally, A++.
Yeah, I'd give it like a 7 out of 10, 7.5.
But I wouldn't mind some reshoots of some scenes.
Yeah. Yes, agreed. And don't hit anybody. Don't ding people with bouncer. What are they called? In Numbers Lab.
In Numbers Lab.
Yes.
See, I can't even keep this lingo straight. Whatever. Okay, let's get to the end of our show where we're going to be talking about the media we are consuming currently that is of this age and stage in our lives. Mine is Professor T on PBS. It is a TV show about a kind of like monk-like professor. Do you remember Adrian Monk?
Love Monk. Yes.
Who was like always like germophobic and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But this is like a less comedy version of that. So Professor T is a criminology professor. Okay. He has some clear issues about germs and sensory issues. Tragic backstory. He saw his father committed suicide. He found his father's body, and since then he's been having like these nervous tics and idiosyncrasies, one might say. He wears like latex gloves everywhere, that kind of personality. Okay. But it's as you know, Helene, but people who may not know me, it's like a crime procedural thing. Love procedurals, love figuring out who the bad guy is, and this is like typical like kind of Sherlockian individual who who gets contacted by the police to help in inquiries.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I love that type of formula in a show. So, sounds fun.
So, it's pretty good. I recommend it.
Awesome.
All right, what about you?
For me this time, I have two because I'm awful, and I can never choose just one. But the first one I put was The Unhoneymooners, which you and I have talked off mic about it, but it's a Christina Lauren book that you've been recommending to me for ages, Adri, and I finally got to it, and I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. Olive is one of my favorite protagonists in a long time. And I'm not usually a fan of like enemies to lovers. Well, I'm not that I'm not a fan, but it's not usually my favorite trope of like enemies to lovers or like fake dating, which this has both. But
which is funny because it's literally my favorite tropes. But continue.
Yeah. As listeners will soon learn very fast, if you weren't already an Accupolitics listener, I'm a big friends to lovers trope fan. But yeah, Christina Lauren really hit it out the park here. They made a really, really funny, just great, like well-written emotional book that I loved. So highly recommend that, The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. And I believe there's a sequel coming out soon. So that's exciting. And then the second one, my sister turned me on to this. If you are a fan of like true crime or like like puzzles and stuff, as well as like cooking shows, there is a show called Crime Scene Kitchen on it's on Hulu. That's where I watch it. Hosted by Joel McHale. Where it's a cooking competition show, but the cooks have to, it's a baking competition show really. And the bakers have to like go through like a crime scene where it's basically a kitchen that has clues as to what was made in the kitchen. And they have to deduce what was made in the kitchen to figure out what to make for the judges. And then the person who gets the closest to the actual like thing that was baked in the kitchen wins. And so it's basically like deducing and looking for clues and looking through a quote unquote crime scene to figure out what they need to bake each week. It's really interesting. I love it.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, it is a good time. That's it for our Parisian adventure. We're getting all sporty spice on our next episode as we talk about another Dualstar Entertainment classic, Switching Goals.
Well, in the words of NSYNC, bye, bye, bye. Growing Up Millennial is an independent entertainment podcast hosted and produced by Helene and Adri Wilson. Our conversations in every episode fall under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, identifying criticism and comment of copyrighted material as examples of activities qualifying as fair use. Helene Karp manages our social media. Adri Wilson edits our audio and does all our graphics. You can let us know your thoughts by emailing us at gummypod@gmail.com. That is gummypod@gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram @gummypod, and we are also a newsletter. Go check us out at gummypod.substack.com.
It's you.
You're live.
It's you. It's you.
No, I said I'll say the bye 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 part. You'll do the other part.
Oh, I thought you said both the intro and the outro.
No, the intro I already did at the top of the episode.
Okay. All right. I just assumed that was the outro was the whole thing.
No, this is gonna be this is gonna be part of our bloopers at the end.
All right. Anyway, so that's it for our Parisian adventure. We're getting all sporty spice next weekend on our next episode as we talk about another Dualstar Entertainment classic, Switching Goals.
Did you say weekend?
I don't think I did.
I heard weekend. Could you do it again just in case?
Yeah, I don't think I did, but I'm sure. That's it for okay.